You're listening to Systemic Era Podcast. The failure was designed.
International leaders try and fail to hold back laughter at Donald Trump, top aide, based on an article by Sarah K. Burris. When power makes a joke of governance, the real power in the room, the source presents this as a comic anecdote. Donald Trump talking about windmills, birds, and obese foxes on a first call with Keir Starmer. But the political fact underneath the joke is simple. Trump was more powerful after in the exchange, and everyone else in the room was forced into managed containment, trying not to laugh, trying to stay professional, trying to survive the encounter. That is the point. When a US president can turn a diplomatic call into a grievance monologue and still remain the center of gravity, the problem is not eccentricity. It is institutional dominance used as personal theater. Windmills Are the Pretext. The source makes clear that Trump used the call to return to an old obsession, wind energy. He repeated a false, cartoonish story about turbines killing birds and blamed them for some imaginary ecological chain reaction involving foxes. The article notes the factual context. Trump ignored wind turbines kill far fewer birds per unit of electricity than fossil fuels, and the claim about foxes has no empirical support. That matters because the issue is not whether Trump believes the nonsense. The issue is that he uses presidential access to launder fossil fuel politics through childish folklore. The absurdity is the instrument. If you can make climate policy sound like a joke about dead birds, you can invade the actual debate about energy, pollution, and power. Misdirection as a political tool. The article wants the reader to chuckle at Trump's weirdness. That framing is convenient for everyone who prefers the drama of personality to the substance of policy. It turns deliberate disinformation into a personality quirk. It treats an executive branch obsessed with sabotaging clean energy as if it were a man ranting in the car. That is misdirection. Trump is not merely strange. He is using the authority of office to push anti-wind, pro-fossil fuel messaging in one of the most low-rent ways imaginable. The joke format softens the reality. This is climate sabotage dressed up as our punchline. The allied reflects absorb, don't confront. Starmer's officials reportedly laughed privately, then played it straight. That is the signature move of cautious liberal institutions confronted with authoritarian caprice. Absorb the humiliation, preserve the relationship, and hope the storm passes. It is not resistance. It is damage management. The source also says Trump announced Starmer's resignation before it was public and then denied speaking to him, claiming instead that he agitated against the move. Whether that line was bluster, vanity, or misdirection hardly matters. What matters is that a US president was treated as the source of political narrative about British leadership at all. That is not normal diplomacy. It is status hierarchy. Comedy as corporate. The article's funniest detail is also its most revealing. The room struggled not to laugh. The reaction captures how elites process dangerous behavior when they lack the word to oppose it. They translate threat into absurdity because absurdity feels safer than accountability. But absurdity does not erase power. A president who can fluff foreign policy with nonsense still controls policy, appointments, alliances, and the terms of conversation. The more ridiculous the content, the more disciplined the surrounding institutions become in accommodating it. The humor is the anesthesia. The larger pattern. This story is not really about windmills, birds, or foxes. It is about how modern political power can become so personalized that a national government starts auditing one man's obsessions. It is about climate denial moving through executive authority is mockery. It is about allied institutions responding to authoritarian behavior with embarrassed smiles instead of hard boundaries. That is the system in miniature. Deliberate harm presented as confusion and undemocratic power disguised as comedy, and public institutions trying to treat degradation as an oddity rather than a strategy. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Automate for today's article. With the automated voice of Diana, thanks for listening.